And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, February 14th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So I want to start off the show by talking about Brandon Aiyuk's cryptic social media post. So we'll talk about that in a second. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to talk about the teams that have the best chance of dethroning the Chiefs next year as they try to go for a three-peat is something that they are talking about already. So we'll get into that. Then in the third part of the show, we'll talk about the Travis Kelce, Andy Reid altercation on the sideline during the Super Bowl. I'll give you my thoughts on that. I know I did touch upon it briefly when talking about the game, but I just wanted to talk about that today. And then we'll take a look at the free agent class for this year, talk about the top free agents that will be on the market, unless, maybe they're franchise tagged. So, that's basically the rundown for the show. Because obviously, the free agency, we're in the off season now, so this is what we're going to be talking about. Speculation on where certain guys can go. So, yeah. So with that being said, let's get into the first topic, which is talking about Brandon Aiyuk. So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, he posted on his Instagram something, and also there were some other things to come out. So I think his brother said something, and also his girlfriend said something that this was like the last time that he would be playing in Levi Stadium. Um, so then he goes and posts on social media. If I could pull it up here. He posted on his Instagram story. Don't forget what got you there. So Brandon Aiyuk is entering the final year of his rookie contract. Um, and there's a lot of speculation on, what's going to happen. Are the 49ers going to be able to retain him? And his base salary for 2024 is $14.1 million. He did indicate that he wants to stay with the 49ers if it's the right move. And he basically said, winning a championship is a priority. Wants a long-term contract that gives him more than obviously his current salary. If they work on a contract negotiation and that ends up, falling through, there's a possibility that he could be traded, and we've seen that, with certain guys. We've seen that with AJ Brown. We saw that with Tyreek Hill. It's possible we could see that here with Brandon Aiyuk. I think what his brother said, it was something about, I know it was about him only having 3 catches. And, yeah, him and Deebo Samuel both had 3 catches in the Super Bowl. McCaffrey had 8, and George Kittle only had 2. So, we talk about all these playmakers, and, McCaffrey had the best game out of everybody. But, Aiyuk, Deebo, and George Kittle, they, really didn't have a huge impact in the game. Obviously they made big plays at certain moments. I mean, George Kittle had the 4th down catch that set up the Juwan Jennings touchdown reception. But yeah, I mean, Aiyuk had some big catches. Deebo was obviously in and out because he was dealing with that hamstring injury. But yeah, I mean, they really did not have big games. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. This is going to be an interesting situation. Obviously, the 49ers are going to want to try to keep Aiyuk because, he had a great season this year. And, it's just, I get players want to get paid. But also, when he's saying his desire is to win a championship, I think the 49ers are one of the few teams that could still, you know, next year they're going to have most of their players from this year. The free agents that they have, there's nobody really big that's going to be on that's going to become a free agent with the 49ers, at least from what I saw. Um, this is one of the teams that still, is going to be at the top when trying to contend for a championship next year. So if Brandon Aiyuk wants to, win a championship, I think really at this moment, his best choice is to stick with the 49ers, unless the Chiefs come calling and he goes to the Chiefs. But um, yeah, I mean, I think that's where you should stay. I mean, the 49ers, they could have won this game. It's just, there were some miscues that kind of, led to the Chiefs cashing in. And yeah, I mean, it really all goes back to, I think, the muff punt. That really just changed the whole complexion of the game. Um, and I know people talking about, oh, well, the 49ers, how they handled overtime wasn't good and they didn't know the overtime rules. I don't know. I feel like I'm in the minority with that. I just think, look, you got the ball, you got points out of it. I mean, yeah, if you go for it and don't get it, you're probably going to lose anyways because Mahomes is going to take it right down the field and get in the field goal range, and that's going to be how you lose that way. And then people are going to say, oh, why didn't they take the points? It just, I don't know. I understand Kyle Shanahan's logic. You get the ball, you score 7, and then you make the Chiefs go the length of the field to try to beat you or to try to tie it, even though they said they'd go for 2. So it really would have came down to that if the 49ers, um, went for it and got a touchdown out of it. But yeah, it would have came down to the Chiefs going down the field. They would have went down the field, scored a touchdown. They would have went for 2, and that would have decided the game. That would have decided the game. Because I know yesterday I was saying, so if they went for 2 and they got it and went ahead, would that have been So that would have been the end of the game, which makes sense. But I just wasn't 100%. I just wasn't sure because it's the first time that they were playing under these new rules. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's for Brandon Aiyuk. Yeah, I mean, only having 3 catches in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, you want to make more of an impact. Um, but the 49ers, their game plan was Christian McCaffrey, and that's who they ran their offense through the whole game. That was their game plan. They didn't really deviate from it. Um, so, yeah, I mean, you want to make more of an impact, but it just didn't happen that way. But again, there's very few teams when you look at the landscape of the NFL that you could say that's a championship team. And listen, the 49ers, they've gotten to this point a lot recently. It's just they keep falling short. And I mean, I don't know what else you could do because the roster's loaded. You got playmakers all over the place on defense and on offense. Now, you could look at the quarterback position, and there was definitely a difference between Brock Purdy. Definitely is a difference between Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes, and we talked about that. Patrick Mahomes being this generational talent, one of the all-time greats, and then you got Brock Purdy, who is a solid quarterback, but is he going to be the guy? He's not going to elevate the guys around him. The guys around him are going to elevate him. Now, Brock Purdy I think, has been the best quarterback that Kyle Shanahan has had since he's taken over as the 49ers head coach. But, again, you look at some of the quarterbacks that he's coached, and, yeah, I mean, C.J. Beathard, Nick Mullins, I mean, those guys are backup quarterbacks that won games this year. I know C.J. Beathard won a game with the Jaguars. Did Nick Mullins win a game with the Vikings? Because, I mean, they I think, I don't know, did they win when did Nick Mullins win a game with the Vikings this year? I mean, because he he put up numbers, but, well, I mean, he threw interceptions a lot, but still, like, I'll have to look. But anyways, yeah, so Brock Purdy, again, is the best quarterback that they have had in the system. But, oh, yeah, they did, well, I guess when they put him in against the Raiders, they won, but Oh yeah, yeah. They pretty much lost every game that Nick Mullins played in. Well, pretty much every game he started. So, yeah. But yeah. I mean, again, with the 49ers, yeah. I mean, I don't know what else you could do. Um, I mean, I guess like they could have gotten their receivers and George Kittle more involved. Um, I mean, Jawan Jennings had a good game. I don't know. I guess that's just how the game went. Um, but the 49ers, listen, at some point, a lot of these guys are going to want to get paid, and you're going to have to do that, and you're not going to be able to keep everybody. So, I mean, if Aiyuk sticks around, unless he wants to be traded, um, this could be like the last chance you have with all these guys together to go out and try to win a championship next year. So, and yeah, it's unfortunate that this team just keeps coming up short every year. Um, they are a very good team. Definitely had a chance to win the Super Bowl this year. It's just it was that team once again that took them down. And with next year, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, listen, they could have very easily not have made it to the Super Bowl. They could have lost to the Packers. They could have lost to the Lions. I mean, the Lions they were losing by 17 points, but they came back. And again, they came up short. And it's and this is not the first time that we're seeing a receiver posting something on social media and making it known that they want to get paid, because we see star receivers get traded, and also Devontae Adams too. Devontae Adams, another one. I said Tyreek Hill. I said AJ Brown. Devontae Adams is another one. Got traded. So and those three guys that I mentioned before, Devontae, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill. Those receivers are better than Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, Aiyuk is one of the better receivers in the NFL, but I wouldn't say he's at the level of those guys. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's going to be something that we got to keep an eye on. But unless there's a team that maybe comes calling and gives an offer the 49ers can't refuse. I mean, I don't know. If I'm Brandon Aiyuk, I think you stick with San Francisco. You run it back next year, and you see what happens. But I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting off season, and again, we're not even like a week in. We're in the first week after the Super Bowl, and already we're starting with this. But it's just I'm not a fan of that. You're like calling out your team like that, but you know what? I guess that's just what these players do sometimes. And we'll see what the 49ers can do to try to make sure that he stays. But again, it's something we'll keep an eye on throughout the offseason. Listen, as a Giant fan, they need receivers. So listen, come on down if you want to go to a different team, because the Giants need all the help they can get. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this situation. Yeah, because it's interesting. Because yeah, you had his girlfriend saying this is the last game we're going to play at Levi Stadium. You had his brother posting something about his stats from the Super Bowl. You have him posting something. So there's something going on there. And look, it's a long off season, so we'll see how this all develops, um, as we move along here. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it when talking about this. Again, let me know what you guys think about this topic. So when we come back we're gonna take our first break. When we come back from our first break, we are then going to discuss who can dethrone the Chiefs. Now, obviously, we just talked about the 49ers, so you could probably add them to the list. Um, but I'll talk about the teams that have like the best chance to dethrone the Chiefs as they are trying to go for that three-peat. They're already talking about that. So we'll talk about the teams that have the best chance to take them down next year. So, with that being said, stick around and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.